And I do think that there was just a certain sense of, there was a lack of respect, there was a certain sense of entitlement, and most importantly, look, we can look past all of that stuff, but the president has set a very clear goal for his administration. He wants it to stop. And I think that it's very important that President Zelenskyy and, of course, President Putin, too, they've both got to come to the negotiating table, and that's ultimately where things broke apart. I really don't care what President Zelenskyy says about me or anybody else, but he showed a clear unwillingness to engage in the peace process that President Trump has said is the policy of the American people and of their president. That's the real breakdown, is I think Zelenskyy wasn't yet there, and I think, frankly, now still isn't there, but I think he'll get there eventually. He has to. Sean, I think our European friends, frankly, are being really, they're doing a disservice to the Ukrainians because their own populations are saying, we're not going to fund this war indefinitely. The American people are saying, we don't want to fund the war indefinitely. So the only thing that is in the best interest of America, of Russia, of Ukraine, and of Europe is to bring this thing to a close. What happened, Sean, is you have Zelenskyy. He goes to Europe, and a lot of our European friends puff him up. They say, you're a freedom fighter. You need to keep fighting forever. Well, fighting forever with what? With whose money, with whose ammunition, and with whose lives? The president is actually taking a much more realistic perspective and saying this can't go on forever. We can't fund this thing forever. The Ukrainians can't fight forever. So let's bring this thing to a peaceful settlement.
So we promised you transparency at this Department of Defense, and America, that is exactly what you're going to get because you deserve it. So at the DOD, we've been working hand in hand with the DOGE team. And as the secretary said, we welcome that process because that process will make us more lethal. And that means that our warfighters on the battlefield will be more successful. And that's what this process is all about. So in the interest of transparency, look at some of the initial things that we found in the Air Force. $1.9 million for holistic DEI transformation and training. $6 million to the University of Montana to strengthen American democracy by bridging divides. At the Defense Human Resources Activity, $3.5 million for support to DEI groups. And how about this one? $1.6 million to the University of Florida to study social and institutional detriments of vulnerability and resilience to climate hazards in African Sahel. You see, folks, this stuff is not a core function of our military. This is not what we do. This is a distraction from our core mission. So we believe that these initial findings will probably save $80 million in wasteful spending. Again, $80 million in wasteful spending just right here. So stay tuned. Today's actions are just the start. More to come this week. Again, we are working hand in glove with DOGE, so stay tuned in the weeks ahead as we trim the fat, preserve the muscle, make the DOD more mission capable and more lethal.